though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
What the fuck? Welcome, brethren, to the cult of Cthulhu. Today, you are joined by cult leader Min. Yeah. Today, we're starting off with something new. No rage games today, no horror games today. This is Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. It is a brand new game. I think it was released on the 24th last month, September. I've heard of H.P. Lovecraft before, and all I know about it really is Cthulhu, who is obviously the biggest thing to do with like H.P. Lovecraft, I think. This big squid monster who's jacked, pretty much the same as me, without the squid. But the big tentacle. Follow our Lord Cthulhu, or Cthulhu, or Cthulhu. But to those who don't wish to follow our Lord's wishes, prepare to die.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more. Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
No, come on, man. Oh, no,
Do
no,
not
no.
think
Oh.
from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Oh, this is way in the past.
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Friedrichs, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. Oh, I never knew that about the Matrix films. That's pretty obvious.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Oh.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation, so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
What flag's that? Okay, because I don't recognize that one.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Well, let's go, man.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
Yeah, well, if you look there, you see that that's the pan and pot, a carrot, and then if we look just over here, just zoom in quickly, you can see that you need to, what does that say, subscribe to Little Dossers and follow their socials. Oh. Glug,
But
glug,
neither
glug.
ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
I don't understand that. You're staring at the sun, like, gaping mouth. This isn't gonna help. Ain't you better, like,
The
going
change
under
happened
the...
whilst I slept.
What?
Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
What the fuck? Jesus Christ.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see. Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
Yeah. I don't blame you, man. Anything that's got more than
the air
4 legs
and
is
in the
too
rotting
much.
soil, a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of
What have you
other,
picked up?
less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Just looking at all the other ones. All the other ones are just kind of chilling, and this one's like, he's probably like, I'm stuck, dude. Give us a hand. Give us a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh yes, octopus, isn't it?
There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
Just horrifying. Wait, are these small? Have I shrunk? No, they're huge. Because look at the size of that fish! Jesus. And this, what do you call them? What do you call them? It says grandfather, but it's not that. Woodlice. Woodlice. I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old. But I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. Need a voice actor? Hire me.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for traveling purposes in a short time. On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease.
What? Oh no! That's so strange. So I'm wondering then, because I'm pretty sure the story is Cthulhu is sleeping, that he's now awoken. If you sit in a bath, the water like rises. So now that he's gone out of his bath, it's gone down to the point where it's gone. That is just completely true though. We do not know what's at the bottom of the ocean. I think it's like 17% explored, 10%. The whole ocean of the earth.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface.
What's this shining light?
Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill.
I probably would too, just looking
I
at
know
it.
not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Well, where'd the mountain go?
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
It's behind me.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine.
What?
I felt myself on the edge of the world. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Huh. You gonna jump? Assassin's Creed style.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
These words are above my head.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions, and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope.
Oh! So this goes farther down. This ain't no puddle. This is another ocean. So this was the top layer of the ocean where all the turtles, the fish, and all that stuff would be. Underneath that.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Oh, I didn't see him in the middle. There he is. There he is. Oh, look at that shark.
Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world.
Well, pretty sure that was a shark. That one's a hammerhead shark. That's a seahorse. That's a turtle. Don't know what the fuck you are. I've seen you before, though.
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well.
Yeah.
Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail.
Which one of them would you least likely want to see at the bottom of your bed?
For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
Oh my god. Holy shit. That thing is huge. Hey, no man. We saw a whale earlier, so put that compared to that. Jesus Christ.
Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Where? What'd you see? What? Where? Where?
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Whoa!
Loathsome, it darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Let's go quick.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
I'm going insane by looking at it.
When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital.
Huh?
Brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
This hospital was not getting a 5-star. Jesus. Jesus.
No country is, or ever can be, above warfare, until the basic impulses of the human animal should have miraculously changed.
That one was hard to hear, because I've always thought, like, if I could control the world, or like, if I was one of the world leaders, I would just have a meeting with the world leaders and say, can we all just stop and agree that if one or a couple countries decide to take over, all other countries attack that one country? As he's saying, how can you trust the ones you're supposed to trust?
I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Dagon, or Dagon, was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in an Assyrian poem and an underworld prison warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He is often mistakenly taken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is an underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the oceans. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men. Often I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm, a mere freak of fever as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite. I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind. Of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
My God, that's horrifying.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
Excuse me?
It shall not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
Turn around then! No! Well, that was incredible. That was way different to what we've experienced before with the horror. That was more of a knowledge-based creepiness. It was quite insightful, but you have to be more in depth of the knowledge of the Cthulhu mythos or H.P. Lovecraft's work. Obviously, I'm not, so I probably didn't admire it as much as I should have. All around, amazing look. It was an amazing story. Great voice acting. I'm telling you, I could fall asleep to the man's voice. Check down below in the description. You'll see a link to this game. It is completely free. I will have edited things out, so the whole game is not what you're seeing right now. So please go and check it out yourself. Play it. Subscribe and share it with as many people as you can possible. It's completely free. If you don't, you're a dick. And I'll see you on Friday. Take it easy.